So it's a great pleasure to be back. It's been 5 years, I think 2008, the last time I was here. And so I have been very busy for the last 5 years, doing a lot of stuff, so you'll hear a lot of new stuff here. So we want to just jump right in. We're going to talk about detox real quick and then get into brain fog and some other things. We're also going to talk about Lyme disease and some things that were on the fly. Some new things too, okay? And feel free to ask questions anytime. You can be formal and whatever. But we have a lot of material to cover. So you have some other 2 sets of the slides, so you don't have to write all crazy. So you can relax and just enjoy it.
Oh.
Ready? All right. So we're going to talk about first, let me get my laser out here, detox medicine, homeopathy, and herbs. And as you'll see coming up, since the day I started studying homeopathy, I use herbs and tonics along with my homeopathy. I've never changed. Okay? I started studying homeopathy when Marcus was a baby. Like 40 years doing homeopathy. Okay? And I never changed. I started using tinctures. I follow Burnett. I follow Clark, Orky. All these famous homeopaths use tinctures along with their. You can treat someone homeopathically and also try to rejuvenate their liver at the same time. And this is part of our history. If you, if you stand with someone that has some new way of doing homeopathy, you stand with one person. I stand with all the homeopaths in the past. Okay? They're all right there. They help the service on every case. Okay? And that's what we want to see. So true classical homeopathy is historical, not based on one person or 2 people's opinion of what homeopathy is. Classical homeopathy is historical. What do they historically, the methodology, the techniques they use to treat people. Okay? It's a vast treasure chest. And we'll go build our own new treasure chest, take another 100, 200 years to see how valuable it is. Okay? So just to warn you, I'm a, what do you call it, liberal homeopath. Okay? Such a thing. So these are some of the things we'll be talking about. So this is some quotes I just want to read for you. Now, when people confront you about homeopathy, I'm a Tai Chi teacher. You never confront head on. You don't have to fight. Okay? You bring up the one issue, medical freedom, okay, and human rights. It's our defense for homeopathy. It's approved by the United Nations. 150 million people use it every year on a daily basis. And I don't know any country on the planet that's outlawed this. Okay? But when you, instead of getting into the science and proving homeopathy, that's their game. Based on objectivity. A true science, a true scientist, you have to look at the objective and the subjective with no prejudice. Because you're not a scientist. When I was in Cairo and teaching, we had a big dinner, and all these college professors from American University were sitting around. They're all quizzing me about the science and tech. And I asked them, I said, let's just stop this. I want to ask everybody one thing. What's the most important things in your life? Oh, my wife, my children, my family, my job. All subjective things. Art, music, dance, all subjective things. So this modern science, which is a belief system, and we fall into a trap, is just another belief system. Okay? And they even admit it's not perfect. Every few hundred years it's turned on its head. So the words of science is a belief system. It's a modern techno-religion. Okay? So we don't have to stand in there and play their game and meet their standards. We didn't say we have a right in that. And Jefferson just said it so clearly. And it's kind of sad, this didn't get in the Constitution. He fought for it in the Constitution. Those who won their religious and civil freedom from the tyrannies of old world realized that needed to entrench that blood-fought liberty in all its fundamentals. If people let the government decide what foods they eat, what medicines they take, their bodies will soon be in a sorry state, as are the souls who live under tyranny. Okay? So he fought, he says religious freedom and medical freedom should be in our Constitution. Okay? So that's one of our defenses. Now I go to next to our Surgeon General. First Surgeon General of the United States, medical doctor, Allopath. He says, unless we put medical freedom in the Constitution, the time will come, what a prophecy, the time will come when medicine will organize itself into an undercover dictatorship to restrict the art of healing to one class of men or women, okay, and deny equal privileges to others. And this will constitute a vast deal of medical science. All such laws are un-American and despotic and have no place in the Republic. The Constitution of this Republic should make a special privilege for medical freedom as well as religious freedom. Okay? It's very hard to attack that. You can attack there's nothing in it, science, this and that. And that's objective science based on machines. You unplug the machines, where's the science? Okay? And the numbers. Now, we call it numerology, they call it statistics. There's no difference. Okay? We call it astrology, they call it prognosis. Predicting the future. Based on numerology, statistics. So it's all how you look at it. Okay? Now, Hanuman. Okay? I talk all over the world about people. I mean, do we live up to the first paragraph of the Forgotten, the second paragraph, the third, the fourth? You know, homeopathy, the state today, they kind of ignore the first 3 or 4 paragraphs. This paragraph, the physician or the healer is likewise a preserver of health. He knows the things that derange health, cause disease, and how to remove them from the person. That brings in diet, stress, all the things there. Okay? And a lot of these things aren't symptoms to be recognized. They're the cause of the person's illness. Okay? So a lot of these causes are just put in a repertory program as a symptom. Someone has a grief. That's not a symptom. That's the state of health the person's in. Hanuman says we must perceive what has to be cured. Okay? And all these symptoms that we repertorize and are generated from some, Hanuman says, ill state of health. So we hit that, the symptoms go away. So I feel modern homeopaths are very much in the symptom analysis versus human analysis, or people analysis. And they're too much into psychological prejudice over the physical. We should have, Hanuman says we should have no prejudice. Okay? We must perceive. What's the word perceive means? To see with understanding. Not to see with understanding. Perceive what needs to be cured. Okay? And you'll unlock a lot of hard cases just by looking at that. In every case you want to say, what happened? Okay, you go back to when their problem began, and you'll see. Now, there's 2 Hanumans. Most people know that. I don't know any schools that teach the pre-homeopathic Hanuman. Okay? How many people have read this article, Asclepius Imbalance? Okay, 2 people. Okay? So this is a whole side of Hanuman. I follow all of Hanuman's teachings. From before homeopathy to the end. And you're shocked. The first, all during his 20s and 30s and all that, he was basically a naturopath. Okay? He gave up drugs and medicine. He gave home remedies, diet, natural hygiene, fresh air, walking in the grass. He followed a French philosopher called Rousseau. And he did all this stuff. He was so disgusted with the bleeding and the purging and the poisoning with mercury that he gave up medicine and became, you know, a natural healer. As you see in the Organon, he even did energy work. He did polarity therapy, Reiki type work, right in this thing. You want to read the Hanuman's lesser writing, you'll find a whole different side of Hanuman. Now, Asclepius Imbalance is kind of the paradigm that's, you know, navigated my whole philosophy for homeopathy. Now, Hanuman says in there that we were never nearer to the discovery of the highest form of medicine than in the time of Hippocrates. So that's he was a follower of Greek medicine and Hippocrates. Okay? And this all way before homeopathy, years before homeopathy. Not so many years. But Hanuman used many herbs and tonics in his practice before he discovered homeopathy. They were used mostly as antidotes to drugs and poison. He wrote the treatise on coffee. Coffee was one of his medicines for antidoting people drugged up on opium, bringing them out of comas and stuff like that. Camphor, he popularized camphor in Europe. Vinegar, he wrote the first pharmaceutical. So every time you have vinegar on your salad, you think Muhammad. He wrote it out of the steel and produced vinegar. Unbelievable medicine. Okay? And every one of these are also homeopathic, except maybe brandy. And vinegar is an acetic acid, homeopathic remedy. Okay? But as a tonic, it's 10 times more broad in use. Okay? The United States is the #1 home remedy. Apple cider vinegar, #1 home remedy. In all of the United States for hundreds of years. Okay? And charcoal, he wrote the treatise on charcoal. So he used charcoal and coffee, and he was going around detoxifying people, improving their diet, and telling them to live a nice lifestyle. He didn't like people reading in bed, so you should sit up when you read. He had all these little rules and techniques. I'm not saying I'm just saying how much he did. Okay. He also walked around, we'll see below that, in long Chinese robes and smoked a pipe. Okay. And he read all the Chinese books. And you can see in his writings the teachings of Confucius and stuff. So we think it was all an isolated thing. Okay. So you'll see coming up here. So Asclepius was the god of medicine. That's why he wrote Asclepius and Bowel. Asclepius had 2 daughters. Okay? Hygeia and Panacea. We still use these words. Hygiene and therapeutics. These 2 daughters did not like each other. And to this day, the homeopaths are following this, well, not the homeopaths are following the same game. Oh, we just do homeopathy. Here how was telling us, Asclepius is balanced. You're going to have a balanced approach. If you want to really look at the causes why someone's sick, you're going to have to look into their diet and the organ functions and some of these other physical things. And then we treat the energy and the physical at the same time. So his idea that health is found when you can balance these two. This emphasizes preventive medicine, exercise, diet, cleansing. This is the spa type of therapies and all this stuff, anti-aging. All this stuff is high key. The picture of the goddess, I have a picture. She had an oil. It's this Greek mythology had this magic oil. So people are still looking for what oil she had in this thing. Okay. And Panacea was all proud because she could cure people. Okay. So you can have pride in curing people, and that's fine. But helping people because they need help is that. Okay, so I really have a 3-pronged approach in homeopathic practice in that. And my first approach is homeopathy, especially with detox, and especially talcopathic remedies. Everybody knows the talcopathic remedy? The talcopathic is a big branch of homeopathy. It's a big branch. Oh, that's not classical homeopathy. You didn't tell them one thing. The first remedy ever given in homeopathy was what? China. It was talcopathic, not homeopathic. He gave China to antidote quinine poisoning. He was antidoting. He started as an antidoter. All he did is antidote the side effects of drugs and all that. Okay? And that's a big thing. If you know how to antidote the side effects of drugs or never well since drugs, it makes some cases so easy. You have someone come in and they're all sick and all this, it started by starting a medication. You want to look at a potentized form of that medication. It's that simple. I just had a patient in Virginia, South Carolina actually. He took an antibiotic called Cipro. You heard of Cipro here? Oh my God! I mean it's horrendous. It's called radiomyelitis or something. You could be walking down the street and your tendons will explode. And that's exactly what he had. I said, I have a remedy for that. I'm going to take my case. Well, I said, we want to try this remedy first, and then we'll take the case and see. We just sent him Cipro 30C. And he's been on it for a few months, and nothing's ever worked, all except the Cipro 30C. All his pains and stuff, his tendons are getting strong, and it has fluoride in it. And you can see calc fluor and our chloric acid remedy will have the symptoms of citral poisoning. So we live in a toxic medical environment, so we have to know how to deal with patients that come that have been poisoned, just like Hana. That was probably 70% of his practice in Paris, was getting rid of people's toxins. So we have to have the talcopathic as our branch of homeopathy that deals with antidoting poison. Okay. Then we do medical tonics, which we'll be talking about. So the tonics and the remedies, especially the superfoods and these things, unbelievable. You know, someone has Alzheimer's, all that, you give them chia seeds or hemp oil, or you give them these things, and they're getting cures with just that. You say we give homeopathy and omega-3s and this stuff together in natural form. Or put them on some raw food or some things like that. You'll see amazing results. Okay, and it buys you time. If the remedy isn't working or you're not sure or it's up and down, then the tonics are working and stabilizing the case. Okay? So you're on solid ground. And then last is Qigong, and we're going to do some fun Qigong. We'll do one this morning for the brain. We'll do two for the brain. Unbelievable Qigong that basically your brain brightens it, clears the mind, gets rid of brain fog, all in 2 to 3 minutes. You can do it anytime you want, anywhere. Okay, we're always going to do another one. Rejuvenate your whole face through the all the wrinkles and but all this stuff is simple, you know, very simple stuff. Very simple. Foods, herbal tonics, homeopathic remedies, and simple stuff. Also, I want to show you some mudras. Unbelievable mudras. Everybody know what mudra is? Mudras are hand positions. That the yogis they could see that when they moved their hands in different positions, they saw different electrical energy movement. And I swear I taught the people mudras and unbelievable stuff. There's one mudra I'll show you that stopped heart attack in 15 seconds. And we had a case, a woman in Trinidad, and she came up and studied with us. She went back down there. She's sitting in church in Trinidad, and her grandmother's next to her and had a heart attack. And and everybody's screaming and yelling in the church. And she's there having a heart attack. And of course, so she took her fingers and put them in a position like that, and then she looked at her watch, challenging what I said. She said it took 10 seconds, not 15. Okay, so that if you're on an airplane, freaking out, you can do a mudra, calm yourself down. Nausea, vomiting, gas and blood, hiccups. So these things are something. You always have it with you. You always have this stuff. You can tap what M-U-D-R-A. Mudra.
And finally, new rule, if you believe you need to take all the pills the pharmaceutical industry says you do, then you're already on drugs. Yes, it's that time in the campaign where all the candidates are presenting their health care proposals. Hillary's covers children's teeth. Edwards has one that includes maintaining gorgeous shiny hair. And Barack Obama's involves going on Oprah, and everyone gets a gastric bypass. But none of the plans address the real problem. We won't stop being sick until we stop making ourselves sick. Because there is a point where even the most universal government health program can't help you. They can't outlaw unhealthy food or alcohol or cigarettes. Just pot, sadly. Because you see, the government isn't your net. They're your dealer. They subsidize illness in America. They have to. There's too much money in it. You see, there's no money in healthy people. And there's no money in dead people. The money is in the middle. People who are alive, sort of. But with one or more chronic conditions that puts them in need of Celebrex or Nasonex or Valtrex or Lunesta. 50 years ago, children didn't even get type 2 diabetes. Now, It's an emerging epidemic, as are a long list of ailments which used to be rare and have now been mainstreamed. Things like asthma and autism and acid reflux and arthritis, allergies, adult acne, attention deficit disorder. And that's just the A's. Doesn't anybody wonder why we live with all this illness? I'll tell you why. At the LA County Fair last week, they were serving something called fried Coke. And my first thought was, gosh, what a waste of a perfectly good 8-ball. But no, they actually pour the Coca-Cola syrup into a deep fryer, then put it in a cup and top it with sugar and whipped cream and a cherry, because, you know, fruit is good for you. Would it really be that much more unhealthy to get molested by one of the carnies? In Hillary Clinton's health plan, the words nutrition and exercise appear once. The word drugs, 14 times. Just as the pharmaceutical companies wanted. You know, their ad weasels love to say, when diet and exercise fail. Well, diet and exercise don't fail. A fact brought home last week by a new Duke University study that showed exercise, yes, exercise, is just as effective a cure for depression as Paxil and Zoloft. So ask your doctor if getting off your ass is right for you. You know, if Republicans can sell the idea of preemptive war, Democrats have to at least get us interested in the idea of preventive medicine. Someone has to stand up and say that the answer isn't another pill. The answer is spinach. Okay, spinach. Turns out that crap will kill you, but you know what I mean. Okay, that's our show. Thank you very much.
That's called perception of reality. And when we put all these glasses on, the biggest glasses, the biggest goggles you see the world through is your education. To fill the brain with all this. So you can't blame these scientists and doctors and pharmacists for their attitude, because that's all they see. Okay? They don't even see all the beautiful subjective things in their life. They're only looking at little lab tests. They're not treating you, they're treating the numbers on a piece of paper. When the number goes up, whether you feel better or not, the number went up to a normal level, they're through. Okay? They did their job. Whether you're sleeping better or feeling better is just secondary to that. Okay? Yes? Yeah, that's Bill Maher. He is a nighttime comedian. Bill? Bill Maher. M-A-H-E-R, and it's on YouTube. You can download it. What's the name of the show? You don't watch very much TV.
Lager. Is it M-A-H? Lager?
M-A-H. R-E-R or something like that. Bill Maher.
Amara.
Okay? So just to introduce you to our state, I mean, they took polar bear milk from the North Pole and it had DDT in it. They got fish from the bottom of the Arctic Ocean and it had mercury in it. Human-made, mercury. Okay? So there's no escaping this stuff. So as in Tai Chi, we don't fight it, or we educate people, but life, in most cultures and all that, they have some type of detox, fasting, or some way, natural way of human living, whether it's religious or spiritual or philosophical way of doing it. So we want to make sure we do that. The average American baby born has 200 different chemicals in their blood. Okay? I mean, we're talking arsenic, lead, stuff like that. Oh, but they're in small doses. Okay? And again, a person's constitution and eyes on the sensitive, they can manifest stuff. But they shouldn't be there. Okay? Toxicity is a greater concern now. We're in 21st century now, aren't we? 21st century than ever before. There are many strong chemicals, water pollution, air pollution, especially living in big cities and all that. There are simple things you can do. One is a negative ion generator. You would plug that in your wall. They cost like 10 pounds or something. And it cleans your air. And you put it in your bedroom while you're sleeping. And you're breathing in mountain fresh air all 8 hours a day. We breathe in 2,500 gallons of air a day. Okay? So you take a third of that, 800 gallons of air can be pure every day, no matter where you live. Okay? A lot of truck drivers in the United States, all the airline flights, they have it right in there, in the cockpit and in their trucks.